Stream.
Long day at work there, Pat?
Yeah. I don't.
Put your mask over your nose.
Little angels. Little angels. Before we begin, it's sponsor plug time, people. Let's start with the link, shall we? Athletic Brewing, the home of truly the best non-alcoholic brews out there. A multitude of flavors and all so damn good you won't notice anything outside of the missing buzz. Oh, and you'll likely get and or stay healthy. Click on the link at Packfiller.com. Also, Wahoo Fitness. Wahoo! The top cycling computers, trainers, and tools to be fast. Be sure and get ready for trainer season. I know, yuck. Blech, trainer season, but it is a necessary evil. With a new kicker trainer, get them now before the Delta variant has them sold out. Click on the link at Packfiller.com. Another one, Gooder sunglasses, you guys. Styles keep changing. The fun keeps rolling. Get over to Gooder.com and check out the best use of $35. Yes, just $35 that you can probably have legally. And finally, Ambassador Cycling. Our friends over at ambassadorcycling.com. Sam is definitely the fit king. I personally have an experience of going to Sam this very week. My wife just got fit by Sam, and we went on a ride yesterday, and she said she actually had no pain in her sit bones or anything like that, which is a first. Genuinely first since we've been married. So you guys, fit is very important, and go check out everything that Ambassador Cycling has to do. So there we go. Personal experience based advertising is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make it personal, you're supposed to make it real, and you're not supposed to talk about it afterwards.
There we go.
But I did talk about it, and
I was just laughing when you said she had no pains in her sits bones, and I'm thinking you might be the problem. You're the pain in the ass.
Oh,
man.
Yeah.
That is worth a number 8.
Thank you.
That's good. That's a burn. It's Wednesday. I know our consistency game is a bit off, but showing up is half the battle, right? It's time for another look into the voice of the pack, the cycling masses, the other guys of bike racing. This is the Packfiller. I am your host. I'm Pat Bulger. I don't like hills. We were just talking before we went on the air, and I'm really tired of our local. I guess we could call it a race.
Spirited ride.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the same course every week, and it starts with about a quarter mile of flat, and then a horribly fucking fast uphill, and I don't like that. With me are the usual suspects with their voices primed and ready. First is the guy I have picked to be our director sportif, Mr. Paul Main.
That might be a mistake, but hi.
Dude, I think it's your job, man. You got to do it. Next is the guy that will likely be our protected leader, Mr. Jackson Bulger.
Man, not enough pressure on me already, right?
Get used to it, man.
Yeah.
I was going to write that the guy that probably won't be on our team in 2 years, because he'll be just like, hey, the fast guys recruited me. They're going to give me a helmet. Like, fine, child. Guys, as a teacher, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence, even though I'm not going to stop the theme. I had to teach today, and I know you're probably thinking that I should just shut up and work like the rest of you, but you know, it's difficult. It's really hard to actually have to work after having 3 months off, and now I have to try to find a time to ride like everybody else, and I just
Yep.
I want you guys to feel sorry for me.
I can't.
You shouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
None of you flat out said fuck off, dude.
Yeah.
Go back to work. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
You know what? I every time this year I always start feeling sorry for myself that I have to go back to work, and then I look at you guys who are working and I realize, wow, I should shut up, but it is still a shock to the system every time. I personally think as a teacher that we should go to school year round. It should be 3 months on, 1 month off. 3 months on, 1 month off for the students, because it'd be better for the students. They wouldn't have this entire brain diarrhea over the summer where they forget and you have to catch them back up at the beginning of the school year, and it would give us a month every season. Am I right? Is this a show about education and teaching? No. But
It's been a long time since I've been in school, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that Germany goes year-round,
do they?
but they have big breaks for Christmas and Easter, and they'll have like 1-2 weeks breaks, but they go through the summer.
Yeah, every season to be able to take 2, 3, 4 weeks off would be unbelievable. So think about that, parents out there. Change the things. So now that I have to find times to ride like everybody else, I guess I'll start by asking, how did the ride week go, everybody? Jackson, how did your ride week go?
I went fine.
Fine.
We rode on. We obviously did the Spirited ride on Thursday, which was a good time.
We were talking about that. You crushed that ride.
Yeah,
you were up there front with the big dogs.
Yeah.
What's the front like? I'd like to know.
The man himself, Sam Waples from our friends at Ambassador Cycling. He was up there with me, and it was a good time. And you said at the end, when we summited the hill, that my eyes were bloodshot. That was one of the hardest days I've ever ridden. So
really,
yeah. Sam said that all those guys were Cat 1, 2, and I'm a Cat 4. So
yeah,
it felt pretty good.
I talked to him at the bike fitting with your mom, and he said that that was like a 1-2 pace.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And you weren't there?
No, not even close. Got to the top of the hill. And the lead group had about 15-20 seconds on me, and it sounded like there was an attack, or not an attack, but a really good surge over the top of the climb, and everybody kept going. And the group I was with, no offense to the guys I was with, but we just didn't have the horsepower to close that gap. Everybody was pulling through, but it just wasn't enough, and it made me sad.
Yeah,
because I'd like to play. I want to play.
It's fun playing.
Yeah. I mean, even if
you got a taste of it the week before.
Exactly. Well, we still didn't catch though the week before.
Yeah, but you were part of the play.
Hard.
Yeah, part of the game. So it's fuck. So how many rides, Jackson, this week then?
We did that one, and then the three of us, another one with Sam and Paul. We all did another one on Sunday. That was good. But yeah, so I got 2.
2?
Yeah.
2.
I'm starting to notice that, and I think Sam and I had a conversation about this on one of our rides, that he was saying that like in his peak he was riding 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week type of a situation, and it's like I think that recovery, especially for me, recovery is something that I'm really starting to like take advantage of.
Okay.
Because like I do wake up like after those like the Thursdays, I wake up and I can like feel like I was like breathing really hard in my throat, and so I'm like I probably shouldn't ride today. So it's like I'm starting to leave it till the weekend and then give myself until Thursday again to ride again, just because it's like, and I'm noticing that I'm finding myself better recovered. I'm finding myself being able to ride harder. It's an interesting thing that I've noticed since going to work.
I have so much changing to do. I always thought if you weren't riding a 5-day ride week, everybody's going to leave you behind. I'm being serious.
Yeah.
It was always Mondays and Fridays were your rest days. That's it. And sometimes on one of those Mondays or Fridays, you went out for an hour spin.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. Okay, Paul, how was your ride week?
Well, I missed Thursday. I had a bad day at work, just tired, extremely tired. My wife was out of town. You'd think I'd get plenty of sleep, but I texted you guys, said I'm not going to make it. I went to bed at 8 o'clock, and I didn't wake till 6. It was like 10 hours of conked out. Don't know why, but I felt totally refreshed. I was just so exhausted all day long. So, but I was still kind of dragging my tail for the whole weekend. But, yeah, and then I lack of sleep. My wife came back Friday night, and she was with her brother, and she had to tell me about the trip. And we stayed up till drinking wine until 1 o'clock at night. And then I had to get some things squared away around the house that I promised that I'd have done before when she got home, and I didn't. So it's
the last minute. Yeah.
And then so I just grabbed a quick 20, I think it was around 20 miles, and then I rode with Sam and Jackson, and my tail was dragging. But I got to ride Jackson's bike because our seat heights are the same.
Really?
We swapped out for a little bit. Yeah. So I got to experience.
Everybody on the show needs to know a couple things. Some very serious fucking things right now. Number one, you rode here on a mountain bike tonight.
Uh-huh.
Paul Main, everybody, rode to this podcast on a mountain bike tonight.
People, if I took a picture of it and sent it to people, like, that's a mountain bike?
Yeah, it's an old 26-incher wheel
Yeah,
Serrata.
it's a 91 Serrata T-Max. With top mount thumb shifters.
Yeah. And second of all, you're just telling me you rode a disc brake bike.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've ridden
I leave town for one
before.
fucking weekend.
See
and
what
the world
happens?
changes.
Yep.
It's chaos.
Yeah.
I can't leave you guys alone.
I know. It's crazy.
What'd you think?
Well, I wasn't so interested. I've ridden on disc brake bikes before,
yeah.
so it wasn't that big of a deal. It was the electronic I want to see, and then his aero bike. I mean, it's a little bit big for me, but compare because they're on. His is the time machines, mine's the T machine, so the level is the same, but one's aero and one's light, like mine is, and so, I just was curious. Boy, it is fast in a straight line. It is fast,
Really?
but it's kind of got a weird sensation to, and it was too short of a ride to really, determine it. But it just felt like cornering seemed a little more labor intensive.
Yeah.
When I stand up and sprint, it took off.
Boom.
Yeah,
Really?
it was fast. And then I just kind of wind out. I didn't really slam it too hard, but I just made a jump. I mean, it is completely. It rides way harsher than my bike.
Really?
It is stiff. Yeah. There's not much compliance in that bike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't bother me. But some people it would, and that's some of the complaint with people on aero bikes. Anyway,
No,
I'm going on a
that's
tangent,
interesting.
but because they, in order to get that arrow that creates that shape, you're not. If you look at my stays, how thin they are, they're designed to flex and stuff.
Yeah, a little give and take play. Yeah. What do you think of the non-arrow? Was it?
He didn't like my position.
Yeah, that was different.
Yeah, slam stem.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's interesting, It's like riding. Obviously, it's riding a completely different bike.
Yeah.
I was used to different hoods. I was used to to a different saddle, a different length, and everything. It was really light. Was the first thing I noticed. For me, at least, light to a point where I felt a little out of control. Well, I'm about to get onto the brakes, and I think that it just confirmed more to me how much I prefer one over the other.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
and it's not due to the brake track. Yeah, but it was just like I have gotten used to one thing, and the luxuries of one, for me at least, are above the other. So
it's interesting because he rode my bike where the brake pads are gone. I need new brake pads, and their old American Classic have no brake track. So I've learned that I know how to slow that thing down and stuff. I can anticipate, but my other set of wheels all brake way better. That's the worst set of wheels to judge. But still, nevertheless, with the new Shimano coming out, the things that his disc brakes have, I can see where people are complaining, and the same thing that Scooter has on his back wheel. When they heat up, they warp, and they did because there's aluminum and steel in there, and they're dissimilar, with the heat distribution and stuff, and that caused a problem. So the new ones are all steel. So they ways of their
Wow. My ride week.
Right.
Yeah.
I got a. I knew it was my last week before going back to the real world, and I got a 50-miler in on Wednesday before the Spirited Ride, which I was thinking to myself, Pat, you probably should just kind of chill. But then I went, no, it's not a race, and second of all, I got a whole day to go out for a bike ride. I should go out and do something. So I did the Valley Chapel Loop, the big one around to Freeman and stuff like that, and just had a great ride. And was feeling really good, and then I did that, and then I did the Spirited Ride on Thursday, and I was frustrated until we got to the pizza place afterwards, and I had beer, and then everything was fine again. And then the weekend, my wife and I decided to end our summer on an RV weekend, and I personally tried I've kind of done it before, but I've never really gone for it. A true foray into day drinking. And I had my first beer at 1:30.
Oh, that's not day.
That's day to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's because you wake up at 9.
No. But no. And so we did that, and I think I had 4 beers before I usually have my first beer. And I did okay, but wow, it's That's not for the faint of heart. I was looking all around the beach. We were on a lake, beautiful, one of the most beautiful places in the world. And I'm not going to tell anybody where it is because I don't want you fuckers to go there. But I'm looking around at this beach, and there are a bunch of people there, and people who were there 9 a.m. on the beach, kind of a thing like that. And they were sucking down drinks as early as. My wife and I were going there, and we sat down and we chilled out. We did a walk, had breakfast, did a big walk and stuff like that. Sat down on the beach, and people were already just well into it. I mean, like mixed drinks. I was up at the bar getting and guys were like going, yeah, I need this, and this. And while I'm waiting, give me a shot of dark rum and stuff like that. And I'm just watching these people, and I'm just going, holy shit, this is next level. These guys are unbelievable. I mean, how they can keep it going. I wanted to take a nap. It makes you sleepy, man.
Yeah,
it's hard. So I don't know. That's hard stuff. But and then we got back, and I rode yesterday. That was pretty much it. So I only got 1, 2, 3 rides in since our last show, and it's freaking me out because my brain is going, 3 rides is nowhere near enough. You suck, dude.
Well, one thing I'm really starting to notice is is the competition or the riding with other people that it's bringing me. Because like I've noticed in the past couple of weeks that this competition, like whether it be like the Thursday night or like in our group rides where we all kind of ride hard,
they're not easy. Our group rides, yeah.
I will say it changes me as a bike rider and a bike racer. When I'm alone, I'm going nowhere as hard, and I like don't care as much. It's like, but when I'm with everybody, it's like I'm a completely different rider altogether.
Yeah.
I'm noticing like big gains too, just from the time that we've been going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You're growing up to develop your own little fast asshole.
yeah.
Someday you're going to be in a field, and you're going to look at somebody and go, "Fuck off," and I'll be behind you just in tears of joy and pride.
Yeah.
My son told somebody to fuck
Screaming,
off.
"That's my boy!
That's my boy, you dick!" And then I'll come up and I'll grab him and I'll turn him off. Or I'll just hook my front wheel on his skewer because nobody knows where to put their skewers anymore.
Well, if they have them.
I was about to say that.
That's a last forgotten art, but it's just pissing
Well,
me.
I'm sure Remco Evenepoel.
Oh, we're gonna
wish
get to that.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that. Does anybody have any events on the radar? Here we are. I just heard our Fondo that we're all planning on doing is in Idaho, and we just received news that Idaho has, and I'm from the Idaho governor, they have 4 ICU beds in the state available because of the COVID, because of the Delta variant, and it's Idaho. No offense to my Idaho friends who listen to the show, but you live around a lot of stupid people. And we're now at the point where I'm wondering if the Fondo's going to happen. But anybody have any events on the radar yet?
That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. Mm-hmm. And none of us are considering cross.
No. I did it for 2 years.
Paul's like,
Yeah.
no, nothing for you, Jackson.
No. If I had the bike for it, maybe. But
Gravel bike will work. Different tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put different tires on there.
it's also pretty heavy. It's heavy as sin if we're being really honest.
Yeah.
And carrying that thing on my shoulder, I don't know how fun that would be.
A big pickup. Yeah.
Excuses.
All right. Has anybody got anything? Is it too early to dream for 2022? Is anybody thinking that far in advance, or now you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna kind of chill out and not even think about it yet?
I mean, right now, that's our only hope, right?
Yeah.
It's 2022, so I guess there is something to think about there.
Yeah, since they canceled Grab Your Drink, True to Bloom, and they announced that they're going to have it in May.
Yeah.
So that's something to target. I think you and I, Pat, were talking about this winter. We're going to be doing more things. I need to do yoga and some more core work, especially at my age. It's catching up with me. So, yeah, and that then just having those goals like different races, Vance Creek or whatever that comes earlier and stuff. So
I think this might be the year for me, and we're talking way in advance, but this might be the year to commit to going out of town, getting to some races over on the west side, getting to some, pre-registering for Tour de Bloom, and doing the race and clearing it out and clearing it into the schedule, making sure it's there. We won't know until the schedule's released, probably in 2022.
January, yeah.
But then it's like, okay, doing these. I was telling somebody the other day, it's like the Vance Creek Series. It's a bunch of races, right? Like
they used to only have one. Independence
okay.
was another one, but they're on the west side.
Yeah.
In March they have. I think they still have Squim.
Yeah. Just saying,
so every
okay,
weekend there's a race.
These races we're going to do, and each of us takes a turn. We're going in somebody's car that weekend, or something like that. And we're all staying at Jack's. And Jack doesn't know that yet, but we're all staying at Jack's house because they're all within realm of that place.
Yeah, that's right.
So we just do that. So I just think it's the time to probably commit. And usually I wouldn't commit, but this year I've been faster than I've been in years. And it's
fun.
like, I don't want to lose it. I really don't want to fucking lose it. So there we go. Let's get to the news, you guys, shall we? Primos is my first headline, you guys. Primoz Roglic took a decisive stride towards his third successive overall victory at the Vuelta when he reclaimed the red jersey by dropping breakaway companion Egan Bernal to win atop Lagos de Covadonga. Hope I said that correctly on stage 17. So, first of all, is anybody still keeping up with the Vuelta? I have been out the last couple days, but I've been checking highlights. I haven't been able to watch live. JB, you've been able to watch anything, if anything? No, no, that's fine. Yeah,
I watched the highlights from today just to see what happened, but I think it's going to be Primoz's to lose. Yeah,
was there any doubt? And are there any doubts now for Roglic's?
There's always a doubt because there's pavement that he can find.
Very true.
A little ass magnet.
Yeah. But he seems to stay upright for the Vuelta. So, it was a great race. If you get a chance to the highlights, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to watch most of the stage after the show tonight, just because Bachelor in Paradise isn't on anymore, and my wife isn't. No, my wife watches that shit, and I go to bed at I'll sit down because I like spending time with my wife, and I'll sit down with her and start watching it, and then I'll break down. I'll go, these are the most horrible fucking people on the planet. I can't stand it. She's like, it's an act. It's not real. And I'm like, I don't care. If they're fictitious people, they're fictitious characters I hate. Yeah. And I can't do it. I can't. Jackson, you've watched some, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a generational thing, and I take it too seriously, I think.
Yeah, I'm able to disconnect from it.
Yeah. How about Sepp Kuss today? Thoughts on being beyond a support rider in the future? Sepp finished second on the stage today. Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, second on the stage today. And he's climbing, I guess, like he always does. But
yeah, he's more consistent than he Yates. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if there was a Grand Tour that's cut out for him, it would be the Vuelta, not the other ones. So I think he's still. I heard a podcast when he was interviewed. In fact, it was Bobby and Jens.
Oh yeah.
He was on there, and he's at least claims he's not anxious to take the ropes. He likes what he does. So I mean, he would like to do I think 1 week stages and stuff. I mean, stage races, but.
Sure. God, the he's crushing it, man. Yeah. USA all the way. I keep forgetting Egan Bernal is so damn young.
Yeah, he's still got
they still got the young rider jersey on it. The question about him is his body able to hold up for the length of a career that he could be potentially destined for? Mm-hmm.
That's what worries me, because he is such a big talent, but at the same time, it's if your body breaks down, that's just kind of it is what it is, and that would be a big loss.
He's on the right team if anybody's going to cater or give him some kind of therapy to help and understand his problems. But, if you get a chance to watch the interviews afterwards, both Roglic and Bernal, those guys are class acts.
They all have immense professionalism and respect for each other, which is so...
Bernal they said, why did you attack? He goes, I'm just out there to enjoy. I just want to enjoy my bike. I was enjoying the time. Even when you got dropped, that's part of it, This is what I do for a living, and I enjoy it. and I thought that's cool.
Yeah.
Suffering. He enjoys suffering for bike racing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel like a dick talking about getting dropped on the climb. Being upset about
Just
that.
enjoy the
Yeah.
time alone.
Fuck.
When you get dropped.
It just.
Hey, look! Is that a rufous-sided towhee?
yeah.
Oh wow! A moose is over there.
I don't think I've ever really paid. I think it's like driving an RV. Everybody's like, "God, did you see the views?" I'm like, "No, I was fucking keeping the car on the road." And so in bike riding, you're going so hard all the time that everybody's like, "Did you see that deer?" I'm like, "What? There was what? Who? I don't have time to see the deer unless it's in the middle of the road and I'm about to hit it." And, I'm terrified. Overall, Roglic sits 222 ahead of two Movistar riders. Enric Mas and Miguel Angel Lopez. I guess and Guillaume Martin, by the way, who I picked, is fifth. But what do you think the mood in the Movistar camp is right now? Second and third is pretty impressive, but do you think they're just going, we keep getting our asses handed to us? You'd think at some point they'd probably figure out a way to assault the lead.
Yeah, I think probably a little surprised, especially with how the year went for them. I don't think they would have expected to be first or second and third. I guess they'll try and capitalize on that, and I think they're at that point where it's kind of getting tour-ish to where it's like we might need to solidify our second and third rather than attacking for first now.
I just want to point out that this is their best, front guys that they've had in a long, long time, and Valverde's gone. And I think this is just me thinking they've take away Valverde and they get to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. So you think
possibly, I think I watched Moss today. He didn't really put too much into the effort. He was obviously, everybody was in pain, but he was kind of to me it looked like he was holding back. Lopez was the one who was kind of pushing it, but tomorrow is a hellacious finish. So I'm wondering if Moss is saving all his bullets. They got one more, like the stage before the time trial, the second last stage is a hilly one. So,
and as we've seen in the past, Lopez needs to solidify as much time as he can.
Yeah,
he's a
TT,
absolutely
TT,
horrendous. Yeah.
He might fall out of the top 10.
Yeah. Oh,
With how he does. Yeah.
10th is Gino Matter at 6:58. So, well, there we go. Sepp Kuss sitting 5:04. He's within striking distance of the top five easily. So, we could see something out of him. So there we go. Next story, the Rohan Shuffle.
I was surprised.
Rowan Dennis has signed a 2-year contract with Jumbo Visma. Two-time world champion, time trial world champion, spent the last 2 seasons at Ineos, bolstering the Dutch team's Grand Tour and time trialing core. This is from our friends over at Cycling News. As well as aim for his own successes against the clock and in shorter stage races. We've known about the issues dealing with Rowan Dennis in the past. We've known his issues with, do I want to say diva? Nature. I mean, there have been a lot of reasons for him departing teams and a lot of reasons for him not wanting to do specific things. My question for you guys is it his value or is there an issue with him that causes these constant shuffles of teams?
I think with Ineos, at least in my eyes, what I really saw was kind of a lack of need for him. I found that in a lot of cases he wasn't really needed on a lot of these races. Like the main thing that I remember him really doing on Ineos was during the Giro when Gegenhardt won.
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
big one. Yeah.
But other than that, it's been like Filippo Ganna's going to be the one who's going for the time trial, and like they're going to bank on that. But other than that, it feels like Rowan Dennis is like, is he a training rider or I don't know. And part of me wonders if he goes, I'm not really needed on this team. I might as well go to another one that has the exact same pedigree of time trialists. So it's like, I don't know. It's a weird move in my eyes because they don't really need him. It feels like.
Yeah, I have to agree on that. But I think also Rowan Dennis's personality. He's obviously OCD. I've heard him talk about where there's a post or something he has to end on a 5, and when you got somebody with a complicated OCD problem, and we saw him throw a fit, when he was with Bahrain, and who knows what it was. The seam was 2 centimeters to the left. I don't know. Yeah, on his skin suit, and that's why I didn't like it. So I'm sure there's he's got talent, and everybody sticks out their hand. Yeah, we'll give you a try. Yeah. And so, but he's getting long in the tooth for his style of riding too. Yeah. So,
is Jumbo-Visma pushing the limit, Jackson? You touch base on that. Are they pushing the limit of really strong leaders? Is this what is needed to take on a full strength Ineos or the other super teams? Is that where we're headed now, or are they reaching the cap?
Well, I don't know. Part of me thinks that Jumbo-Visma, from what we've seen over the past couple of years, is just out and out the better one of the two teams from what we're seeing. Like, if they're bringing their A team, they're the better team in a lot of the senses. So, I don't know if I think whatever they can do to get the better wins. But like I said, I don't know if he's really needed where he's going. They have the Olympic gold medalist for time trialing. They have Tom Dumoulin, and so it's I don't know. It's just a really strange move to me. I think he could have gone to another a different team and bolstered their ranks rather than go to a team where he might not be the one in charge. I don't know. It feels like a weird career move for him.
Yeah. You wonder if there was any emotional time trialist of the team between he and Filippo Ganna.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Well, and I don't know does anybody know the status of Dumoulin? Is he going to come back for another season?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I just assume so after his
But
return.
If he isn't, then he's just filling that bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. I just assume so. So there we go. Third story. Here we go. Remco rage. Remco Evenepoel cut an extremely frustrated figure at the side of the road and a broken front wheel during stage 1 of the Benelux Tour just recently. Situation for him was not helped by the fact that the Shimano neutral service car took an extremely long time over the wheel change, first bringing the wrong wheel and then taking a substantial time with the drill on his disc brake wheels. Paul's just drooling chomping at the bit to get to this one. It was made clear that he was the race itself plagued with really strong crosswinds. That he blamed Alpecin Fenix rider Gianni Vermeersch.
Yeah, Vermeersch, I think. Yeah.
For cutting across him and breaking his spokes. So he was obviously just extremely rage-filled at the end of it, and he was shouting it in Dutch, apparently, and translated it, obviously. We're just riding normally in the group, and you just come diagonally into me. No need to run away. You should realize your mistake. So, kind of that post-race, you fucker. Yeah. Afterwards he settled down a little bit and tweeted, quote, "Crazy first stage of the Benelux Tour, and in all of the actions and emotions can run high. Tomorrow's a new day and a time trial. Let's go for it." Which sounds like a total back apology tweet. But you guys ever said something you regret in a race? Jackson, you probably not. You still,
I barely say anything in a race anyways.
Exactly. Yeah. Paul, you ever said anything? You're like,
yeah, go ahead in front of me. I said that once.
Go ahead in front of me.
Yeah. And then they gapped, and I got dropped with him. They're trying to get in the line. It's like, you want in? Go ahead. Go in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That didn't work out so good.
That's your only excuse. I do it all the time. I let my emotions get way too much of me in bike races, and I end up just yelling, and I try to. I don't think
in a race. I don't think I've ever yelled at anybody.
I think I was.
I've had opinions, but kept it to myself.
Paul Dalka, I think, yelled at me once. It's for the only time. He is now a monk, and I remember him looking at me and telling me to shut the F up when we were downtown in one of our races, and Mike Meyerly and I were yelling at each other in the middle of a downtown crit.
That was new.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I wasn't the bad guy, so there we go. Okay, Paul, let's do it. Let's talk about the disc brake situation. Number one, needing a power tool to remove the wheel. Number two, the entire process is time consuming. Number three, honestly, no two discs are the same. And a big discussion came out of this on the internet about the future of disc brakes in the Peloton.
John Galloway, if anybody, his tweet was perfectly said, the reason bikes and manufacturers are involved with this, they pay a lot of money so that we consumers buy some of that product, and I'll name a few that I don't think really work on road bikes and tubeless.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to work out. You can ask Alexander Kristoff when he used them in Paris-Roubaix after he'd won against Veligum, I think it was, and he said, "Oh, these things are fast. I'm going to use them in Paris-Roubaix," and he flatted 6 times.
Oh shit!
So there's some. It works in other disciplines and some of the stuff that doesn't transfer over, and I think disc brakes in my opinion, this doesn't work in a race situation, and that's an example. And we've had this discussion before. The reason why disc brakes came around is because consumers use clincher wheels.
Yeah.
Pros run tubulars. 90% of them still are on tubulars. There isn't a problem with delamination. There can be, but very rarely because of the design of that rim. So everybody wants to look like a pro. Pros run carbon wheels. They get the clincher version. Those thin, as they're not designed. You're not going to be able to make a clincher wheel last with rim brakes. So invention of that is the disc brake for road. And the reason people ran carbon wheels because you can get it, there were aero and light. Mm-hmm. Now you can't get disc brake wheels as aero and as light as a rim brake. So that kind of almost like cancels out the whole purpose of having carbon wheels. It would be heavier, I guess, if you had aluminum if you ran disc.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, John Galloway said it best. It's like, leave it for the consumers, but let, bike racers run the stuff that they can. I mean, had Jumbo-Visma, Deceuninck car been behind him because it was echelons, so they were stuck behind like the third or fourth echelon. He had to wait. So neutral support comes, and he's going because majority of the flats are always in the back.
Yeah.
So the guy assumed it was in the back. If you watch it, go to GCN and watch stage 1
of
this race. It's 19 minutes into it, and in the coverage, and he's like, he's ticked off because he's waiting and waiting because all these packs have to come by. Neutral comes. Yeah. The guy runs over there. He starts to undo his back wheel, and you can see him like screaming, yelling at his front wheel because the spokes got snapped out from
from the Alps and Phoenix. Yeah. And
then he's screaming, and then you can see he's just stripping out that bolt or whatever. He's not getting that thing out, and he's like freaking out.
And the panic starts to settle in for this poor guy in neutral service.
Yeah. And so I'm going to take back in the Tour. Everybody claims the Tour was won on disc brakes, but on the crucial parts of Pogacar's stages up in the mountains, he ran rim brakes for 2 reasons. If he gets a flat in the mountain, same thing. If your team car is way down the hillside, he's going to lose the Tour waiting for a bike because no one is, unless you want guys to carry drills, his teammate. But I've changed wheels for teammates even in an amateur level, Yeah. And my team leader, I've given my wheel, and that's always done. But you can't do that with disc brakes. So, I understand, and we're not going to be able to dissuade people to, or companies to go with rim brakes, but there is a light on the end of the tunnel. The new Shimano does offer rim brakes.
They do offer rim brakes. Yeah.
So, and no mechanical, but they did not get rid of rim brakes.
It's such a hard, Jackson, I think did we talk about before we even opened the show, you were talking about the fact that you do love a disc brake bike. It is a better feel for you. And I mean, I'm not going to disagree. It's when they're performing, they fucking rock. my gravel bike, my mountain bike, my tandem mountain bike. I wish my road mountain bike had them. I mean, my road tandem had them. And it is a better braking effectiveness. I think we could all probably agree on that one. However, when you're talking about these situations in a race where you're, as an amateur rider, when you go to a race, are we even going to bother putting wheels into a neutral car? No.
It's chances of even your rotors getting bent up. You know how they throw those wheels in there and people panic pulling them in and out.
So if we're talking about attending races next year, like the one I should not mention because we're all getting low on our drinks, and in stage 1, you flat,
you're done.
Your race is over. Is that what we're saying now?
Yeah.
Is that what we're getting to that point?
I mean, so where my head lies on that is it's like, so cycling as itself we know is a pretty expensive sport. We all know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think that it's kind of coming to that point where it's like another wheel set is unrealistic for a lot of people.
Sure.
And I find that in racing situations that it's almost like it's like survival of the richest in some ways because
that's
like
a great term. Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a bummer just because it's like if you have the means or the team or all of these other like assets upon yourself, you are going to win.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a bummer at this point because it's like I am a person who cannot financially who is not financially able to afford another set of carbon disc brake wheels. It's just not on the cards for me. So it's like, I mean, for instance, with my Trek bike, I couldn't financially afford to have another set of wheels. And I don't like, I understand the teammate thing, but it's like, what if you have no teammates?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know whether it's rim or disc. It's like, I'm getting to that point where it's a little disheartening because it's like, if you have that, you can win.
Yeah,
it's just a bummer.
Or your day's over. You spent $200 for a stage race entry fee, and it's over.
Yeah.
I will say that I have 2 sets of wheels for my bike, but one set is heavier than shit.
Yeah.
They're my training wheels, but I know that I can put them in a car, and if I get a flat, I can get a wheel out and I can throw it in my bike and I can take off and I can finish the stage. A lot of riders are now looking at, we're talking about disc setups where you're not able to.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a wheel change. You're not. It's and most average Joe races are not going to have somebody with a drill motor hopping out and helping you out. They're going to open up the back of the van and go,
there you go.
Which ones are yours?
Yeah.
And you're going to have an Allen key in your back of that size, and torque and all that kind of bullshit, that's going on right now. So we can all agree that it's an incredible technology, but there are a lot of advances that need to be happening before a racing world can embrace it.
Well, I think an interesting idea that I have been thinking about recently, like on my way to work and in the shower and just kind of when I'm alone, I think about this a lot of the time. So there's a thing in soccer, Messi and Ronaldo are the 2 greatest players in the world. Sure. And there are a lot of conversations about who's better. Ronaldo's the better player, Messi's the better player. I have my opinions, but I see a lot of people say, why should we argue about these? Why don't we just revel in that we are able to live in the time when Messi and Ronaldo are playing? And I've been thinking about it to where it's like rim brakes are great for their own, disc brakes are really great for their own, and the innovation that we're seeing right now, I mean, with the new Shimano stuff is crazy to me. So, and I'm not saying that this conversation is dumb or irrelevant or anything, but it's like I'm starting to get to the point where it's like, why don't we just revel in what we are able to see? What I understand it's very expensive, but I'm just starting to just be in awe personally and of what we're seeing.
But the point is still, we can revel and we can be happy with what we have, and it's an amazing time, and technology is amazing. until you're waiting on the side of the road for a wheel change, and we're not going to come up with the result. We're not going to come up with the answer here today on this podcast. And by the way, the reason why I keep bringing it up is because it makes a great podcast discussion, and people keep coming up next to Paul at Spirited Rides and going, "Hey, old fart, you still pissed about disc brakes?" And I'm not pitting you as the pro disc brake guy on the show.
No, this is just a conversation.
Yeah. So, but I'm just it's. I think it got shoved into the scene too quickly. The technology is, and I think I know there's going to be a solution coming up very soon in which wheel switching accessibility. I don't know what it is, but it's going to happen. It has to happen.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's got. The thing is there
Something.
Yeah.
You can go.
No, go ahead and finish that.
Oh, no, I was gonna
because
say-
I'm going to go probably in another direction. So.
I was gonna say, well, I mentioned the new Shimano before. A big thing with their new innovation is that first of all, they changed the rotors altogether, as you mentioned before, Paul. But also they gave more clearance between pads.
That's a big deal.
And I think that one thing that we're seeing is that there was a reason why a lot of these, and I'm getting a little nerdy here, but a lot of these riders were seeing not with the traditional Dura-Ace rotors, but we're seeing the XTR rotors, which is the mountain bike rotors, is because they've been riding probably the new Dura-Ace for God knows how long at this point. And so it's like, I wonder if that clearance has been available for them, but it just hasn't trickled down to us yet.
You
Well,
think with
it's still
a mountain bike would allow more clearance for maybe a mud
they
clearing
can.
and things
Yeah.
like that.
The thing is on roads, because everything tolerance have to be, you have a smaller rotor by far than you would have on a mountain bike. So the stopping power and all that stress on that smaller disc puts it needs a lot more. And anyway, we could go off into the weeds here, but one of the things, it's not so much the braking and all that type of thing. My problem is in amateur racing, and I know, and I've said this 1,000 times, that is not what the industry cares about is amateur racing. It's made, you look at the new Dura-Ace group, and granted, you don't start road racing with a Dura-Ace, unless you're privileged.
Yeah.
That's $4,000 for the new group.
Jesus.
$3,900.
Come on.
So you
That's-
spec
yeah,
a bike
about-
on there?
Survival of the richest.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, and a lot of that is in the disc brake, that the rim brake, when they had mechanical, exactly.
Yeah.
The mechanical was less expensive. It was lighter. Rim brakes are lighter and less expensive, and it takes less material to use to build a rim bike. It's not a tremendous amount, but you have to reinforce the fork and the rear stay. The design of a disc brake bike is completely different. And they will get them down to like 6.8, but that's the problem, is you have to reinforce that. But it goes back to amateur racing. We'll use a stage race. If you flat on stage 1, you cannot go to the next stage. It's done.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And so there's times where in the past where I've flatted, got in a wheel change, maybe not even bridged up, but I was still in the race. I could help teammates.
Or you could go for a stage win. Or you could...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even like in your situation, I have 3 sets of wheels. We all run 11 speed. If you had rim brake, I would, although we race different categories, I'd give you a set.
Yeah.
And it's a quick release, and you don't have to carry tools with you and spin them off, and it's the alignment of the disc based on wheels. Let's say you're running Shimano's new wheels and everything. So where it centers up, the next set of wheels, let's say somebody had a disc brake in there, even if we could change them out, that spacing could be a couple of millimeters to the wrong side and hit your brake pad.
Yeah.
That's the problem, that alignment. I mean, everything has to be machined, that facing. They're starting to face the disc brake, part of the hub, so it's flush, because sometimes they're just through machining. They can be off a little bit. So they're very temperamental. But for the average guy riding, and the guys that I ride, like in the morning ride guys, I think absolutely great. There's nothing wrong with them.
No, it feels great. It's a great brake. It's incredible control. Doesn't the water doesn't affect it? That makes it louder than shit. But you can still grab a brake and lock up a wheel.
When you interviewed Mikhail Mokow, you asked him about disc brakes. You actually asked that question. He says it's a shame for amateur racing. It's not a good thing. Yeah. Because it made it more expensive, and it's you're stuck in this. You're done.
Will we be laughing about this? Remember when you had to take a drill? And that brings us directly to the topic. Brought to you by our friends at Scratch Labs, truly the best tasting and performing hydration option out there. If you don't believe me, get to scratchlabs.com. Give it a try. They now have a gigantic sample pack offering of all their wares that you can purchase and just have everything. Or even better, you can get to your LBS that carries Scratch. You guys are going to thank me for that. Mojo Cyclery, speaking of LBS, Spokane's home for gravel, the lifestyle, the gear, the repair, and now they have a new shipment of bikes. A bike shop with bikes. Yeah, hard to believe, right? Check out their Spokane Valley location. And if you're not local, click on the link at packfiller.com for Competitive Cyclist, your online source for all the great deals. Although I am still LBS believer, but sometimes you just can't find it at the shop. Competitive Cyclist has it along with the best prices. You guys, I want to talk about innovations in the sport. I want to talk about the ones that perhaps either happened too early or shouldn't have happened at all. There have been ones that we might have fallen victim to, or ones that we didn't and missed out upon. There are ones that paved the way, and there are ones that were truly embarrassing. Jackson, I apologize in advance. We're going to have to explain some of these to you because you haven't been around in the sport to see some of these monstrosities or things that have happened along the days. But let's break them down and try to find some way that they, what we're going to maybe find even the next ones to fail, all right, or change. So we're there we go. First one, I have a list of some of them that popped into my mind when I was doing my research for the show. First one, BioPace chain rings.
Yep.
Definitely one. A little description of it for Jackson, who's kind of giving me a look like, fuck, what? And a lot of people who don't know. It's a trade name for a type of oval bicycle chainring manufactured by Shimano from 83 to 93. That's how old they are. Design was intended to help overcome a dead zone where the crank arms are vertical and riders have a mechanical disadvantage, that shift from one leg to the other. They have a reduced chainring diameter, so it's got that oval shape to them. Coinciding with the cranks being horizontal, supposed to smooth that pedaling action, allowing the rider's feet to carry more and more momentum through the power stroke, and having it smoothly removed at the bottom of the stroke. And also helps with knee injuries, is what the thought was. This not only was big in this time, but it also came back for a while. Chris Froome was riding them. I remember
Wigo.
Who was the CSC rider who won the Tour? Spanish rider.
Carlos Sastre.
Carlos Sastre won the Tour on oval chain rings, if I'm not mistaken. Number one, Jackson, I won't pose this question to you. Did you use them? Paul, did you?
No. Yeah. I never had. I didn't like Shimano back then. And,
okay.
To add on to that whole cam, it's based kind of like on a cam feature. There was a thing. Do you remember power cams? They were a crank system that had a cam inside. So you literally, once you got to that dead spot, it took that force and it had like gears inside.
Holy shit! And it shoved your crank forward.
Yeah, it just like, poof, and you couldn't do circles, but you didn't have a dead spot. But you were pedaling kind of weird, like high stepping,
Yeah.
And somebody asked a couple of cyclists. I was in the case study on these things, and do they produce more power? And it was more for somebody's doctorate out at Eastern Washington. And I had to quit. I had such severe knee pain from those things because it literally jerked your knee, and then all of a sudden I could never find the rhythm on those things. But that was under that same premise as like somebody just did on the ring. Let's invent this little gear inside that works like a cam.
Yeah.
And, what a disaster.
Would you use them today if they were available?
No.
Jackson, does it entice you at all if it was a brand new technology?
Not really.
No?
It's I think the circular chain rings have been around for such a long time,
and proper pedaling technique is something that I think should be taught, even though a lot of people don't understand it. Mm-hmm. So if you were going to rate it a fad, a flop, or fantastic, Jackson, I won't throw you under this bus because you're probably like, I don't even know what the fuck these things are.
I know Roval makes a couple.
Yeah, still do.
I would say it's a fad.
Fad?
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah, very fad.
Fad. I'm going to go with fad too. Next one, the good old-fashioned Spinachis or the drop-in handlebars. Handlebar extensions built by Cinelli. Built Spinachis, which were an extension that came out onto the front of the bars. You attach them to your tops, and it was a handle that came out, almost like a mini aero bar, if you will. Hi, Gravel. And Scott drop-ins, which was an extension from the bottom of the drop that came in towards the head tube. Provided aerodynamic assistance in mass start events, mountain time trials, and the like. Eventually banned for safety reasons. Question again. Sorry, Jackson. Did you use them?
No, I thought they were stupid.
Really?
Yeah, we've had the discussion on drop-ins. You had them.
I had drop-ins.
Yeah. And you mentioned Paul
I had
Dalka.
Spinachis too.
Paul Dalka did a cheap, remember, because mountain bikes used to have like bar end.
Yeah.
He actually clamped on bar ends, a short little stubby bar end, so he could ride like that.
I had them both. I had both. My Spinachis, I think, I don't know where they disappeared to, but I had them both.
That was a puppy paws with the bar.
That's my question. That's where we're leading to here. The puppy paws was used for so many years and a very unsafe position we could probably agree on, even though the pros should be able to use it because these guys are far better bike handlers. But, they don't want little Johnny going out and doing puppy paws and falling on his little bikey bike. But would you use them today? Either of them?
If they were legal?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But it's interesting because there is I know that there are like gravel bars where you can actually get them to where they are set in almost like a hexagon or a trapezoid.
Sure.
Man, that's bringing it back.
Nice.
But yeah, they have that, and to where you can actually grab it out front, so it's another position.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that little ideas like that kind of circle around.
Yeah.
But no, I would not, especially the drop-ins. I'd be worried about ripping my hands off.
I'd probably use them.
Drop-ins.
I've fallen into fads.
Did you use that position very often?
No.
Yeah.
No. I just thought they looked cool. Greg LeMond had them, and you could put the bars and the sticker on the front that said
It's Scott.
Yeah, it's like that.
Mhm.
I probably did more.
They were
free
flexible bars, and
Oh, shit,
And I rode
horribly
in that
flexible.
position. I tried them out once. I worked at a bike shop, so I could try them out, and it was not impressed with it.
super
at all.
wobbly bars,
Yeah.
weak bars.
Yeah.
They're terrible. So did we decide fad, flop, or fantastic?
A flop.
Flop, Jackson.
I think flop leaning into fad.
Fallop.
Yeah,
Fallop.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one too. The Mavic Zap, unveiled in 1992, came with new thinking on gear changing. Unlike the Di2 or Campagnolo as of today, Zap's electronics were used. I'm reading from prepared text from our friends at I can't remember who I got this from. I think this was from Peloton. So thank you guys for let me have this copy. It was interesting design because they didn't use power. The electricity was not used to actually move the derailleur itself. It was because the batteries needed back in the 90s would have been too big and heavy. Instead, Mavic engineered a system where shifting was powered by the movement of the chain itself. So it wasn't that classic parallelogram design. So anyway, really smart design, really ahead of its time, but a lot of things went wrong with it, and it was really tough. Tony Rominger, a Swiss pro at the time, he really looked back fondly upon it. He experimented with the 93 Tour de France, and he said, my manager didn't want me to use it in the TT because it was a risk, but I thought it could save me energy with the shifting by not moving as much on the bike. He didn't have to take his hands off the bars, and it kept him aero. But 3K in, he found himself stuck in his 5412.
It happened to Alex Zula too.
Yeah, he says, and Rominger said, luckily it was flat, and he went on to win the TT. Mm-hmm. So, none of us used it. I don't think I could afford it. It was insanely priced.
I was, I personally didn't install it, but I worked at a bike shop when the first one came in Spokane, and a guy put it on his tandem.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's just a rear derailleur. The front derailleur was still mechanical.
Still mechanical. Okay.
Yeah, and the back was that worked on electronics.
Talk about the precursor to
Yeah,
Di2. Innovative.
Great idea
at the time.
Yeah.
The downfall why it didn't succeed is obviously battery technology, and also the big thing was it's made by Mavic, and nothing works with Mavic. So
Okay, so they're not going to be sponsoring the show.
No.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on electronic shifting? You used it when you test rode Jackson's bike. Jackson, you ride it now.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that? And the technology itself.
I think it is a game-changing technology in my eyes. We talked about disc brakes being put in too early, but I think electronic was never questioned.
No.
Because you never hear about it being questioned. I think, for me at least, it's a crisp shift every time. You're never going to miss a shift. I've gotten into my big ring from my little ring the quickest and easiest I've ever gotten into it. And to be honest, I don't know if I can go back. I've gotten to that point where I love it so much that it's I depend on it now. I think it's an amazing innovation.
Paul, are you
I think
prepared?
it's good. I would be fine with it. It's just the expense is too high.
Yeah.
There's something I like the serviceability of a mechanical as opposed to relying on electronics. But yeah, I mean, I've ridden somebody's E-Tap, which I like better. I don't think it shifts as good as yours. I mean, in the front derailleurs, it's huge. That's a big. If you're a big front derailleur,
That's a big shift.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of power.
If you're a big front derailleur guy, says Paul, who's like knees you can hear 30 counties away. No.
But in the back, and it'll be interesting that this new 12-speed too that they're talking about. Not so much you don't notice it difference from the 11-speed, but you're going up, but it's going down how much smoother, because there's always that clunk, because the chain's dropping down.
I'd love that feeling.
Yeah, and now the new one that's called Hyperglide Plus, where they have ramps where it's just kind of like glides down.
You don't even feel it.
Yeah, you don't even feel it. So.
Holy shit!
And I think it'll be okay. The unfortunate thing is it's caused bikes to be very, very expensive.
Yeah,
and it doesn't need to be.
There was something that Mavic. I keep saying Mavic. People say Mavic, things like that. But anyway, Mavic. Was that also came with that system, which strangely enough, I own a kind of a similar deal. Was they had a computer head unit that would tell you what gear you were in.
Doing it now.
Yeah. My Shimano, my road tandem has an old school Shimano flight deck computer on it. And it actually, it's great because not only does it show you what gear you're in, and when you're in a tandem, you can't see the back of the bike to see what gear you're in. It also has computer control buttons in the STI levers. So I can click through the computer just by using my thumbs.
That's cool.
And it's a great design. It's a great concept. Never kept the flight deck computers. Nobody really wrote them. They didn't stick with them. And I put batteries in it the other day, and I was fired up, ready to rock. So I just think it's great.
Look at the gears I'm riding.
You just go.
Well, I suppose there's times where I can. No, I don't. Maybe if it. I can feel a drag. I know I've got a big cross. It's usually big and big, type thing. But I rarely look at it. I mean, I just go by feel.
Okay.
It's like I need to go up another gear, and I just know by speed typically, and sometimes I'm wrong, that I need to go to the small ring. That's when I'm wrong, when I go to the small, or very tired or not feeling good.
So Mavic shifting, fad flopper, fantastic.
I think it was.
I almost should have had another one that was like futuristic, like they were ahead of their time.
Without a doubt,
ahead of their time.
Yeah, that's some forward thinking.
Yeah.
To go in the parameters, I'd say fantastic because of the future.
Yeah,
that it created.
I'll give you that.
Very good.
I'll give you that. How are we doing on time? We're doing okay on time. Grip shift, and this is switching that I might be the only one who knows this one.
So, no, I know it.
Yeah, I know it.
Originally created in 1987 as an end-of-the-arrow bars twist shifter for tri-geeks. Three guys who founded SRAM, were looking back in '89 to branch the Shimano-owned mountain bike market. They took it off and they switched it over to the mountain bike market. And I remember when they first were pushing it out, they were also pushing it out to crit racers, because you could stay in the drops and you just reach to the bottom of your drops and
the
get
bar
a
end
twist.
Shifters.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
And a lot of compatibility issues arose, especially because Shimano was trying to push their thumb shifters in mountain biking, and I think they made it so
So it wouldn't be
SRAM was no longer compatible, as well as mud issues, getting mud into the actual rotating gear. I rode grip shift for a long time on my mountain bike, but it did lead to the birth of SRAM. SRAM, I think, eventually just was like, okay, fine, fuck you guys. We're just going to start buying out equipment manufacturers and start forming our own Grupo. And here we have the only American-based group set. Did anybody use them?
I had a one of my first mountain bikes had, not first, second one had grip shift on it.
Really?
It had, remember Suntour, and you could get
Sure.
adapters on there.
Yeah.
Because Rapid Fire came out, and that was the answer. Suntour had what they called, was it cross press or something like that, and it was terrible. So the answer was you threw it on grip shift. So.
Yeah. I don't think you had anything that would
Yeah.
classify. Did you?
I had some mountain bikes that had them.
Did you?
Yeah. My first ever mountain bike, that red Specialized, had a grip shift on it.
Did it?
I remember that. But I also remember that I used to go to a camp that we did this big, long, like 300-mile ride.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of bikes that had a grip shift on there. And I remember one of the guys that was on the ride, he snapped 2 chains because of a grip shift, to where he would go
torquing it too hard. Yeah.
He would go from the smallest cog all the way to the biggest in the rear, and he would just
Jam it.
Yeah.
he snapped 2 chains. I've never seen that happen before.
Chains.
He snapped chains because he would just grab a fistful of gear and just
Kids these days, man, I tell you.
Yeah.
It's been a little piece of shit. It should be noted that SRAM also designed a hydraulic rim brake that never took off.
Yeah,
Wow.
they were so powerful. There was, I heard a story on Shop Stories. They were setting it up, and they're like, man, if you grabbed a fist of that, it was on aluminum rim, and they literally crushed the rim.
Oh my
it had
God.
so much force on it.
wow.
So, yeah.
There's our solution. Bring back the hydraulic
Oh, no.
rim brake.
No.
All of a sudden, the disc brake problems are over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Ugh, just buy new wheels every week.
Yeah, fat flopper, fantastic for the grip shift. Or futuristic, I guess I should include another F.
Fad.
I say futuristic because it started SRAM.
It did start SRAM.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty cool.
They were fighting against a powerful Shimano. Was the only game in mountain bike.
Yeah. I remember Campy tried it, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was
I wish
ugly,
I almost bought one of
ugly.
those groups just to keep, because
the brake levers were so ugly. They were so bad. Yeah, they look like they almost look like those ones when you see it like a Schwinn Varsity with on the tops, those levers there. They looked like that. They were just disgusting. Suspension stems. Allsop, the pioneer, created an alternative to the first RockShox suspension fork. Offered adjustable dampening on a spring-based parallelogram design. It eventually faded, but the concept, hello, being used quite readily and steadily in gravel now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think either of you guys used them. I had one.
No.
And it was on a mountain bike that I had for a long time, and then I switched and gave it to my wife. She rode a rigid mountain bike with an Allsop stem for a long time. It was a pretty impressive design, and now my wife is on a gravel bike with a suspension stem. I mean, the circle is now complete. I have not ridden any type of a suspension stem since then, but I can only imagine that it would probably be, especially in the chatterbump world of gravel. You're starting to see fork gravel, fork suspension, which I don't want to see, but I understand. The Lau fork started it, and now you're actually seeing suspension forks. I would love it in some of those chatterbump situations, but I would need a lockout mechanism of some sort. That's what I'm hoping that if they're not integrating it now, they would. Would either you guys do a suspension stem in any way, shape, or form?
Not for my riding.
Not for your riding.
Yeah, I do it for my style of riding, to where I switch between surfaces. I think it's. Yeah. I mean, it's here already, so. Yeah. But I think it's a good idea.
Fad flopper, fantastic. The original Allsop stems, or futuristic.
I think, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say futuristic because that, it stuck around, had some staying power, but I mean, Allsop disappeared, but
they did. Yeah. They had suspension-based ski poles too that I remember seeing around. I skied on some Allsops.
Yeah, I think futuristic, especially hearing from the whole ski pole
Yep.
end of it. Like, they were ahead of their time for sure.
Yeah.
Because that's a good. Both of those are really good ideas, and
Yeah.
as we see now, we're seeing them all over the place.
Yeah, I guess it made sense at the time to have the bars lower like that, especially in mountain biking. It changing the position of the rider, probably not as obviously as beneficial as a fork that absorbs, and the dimension of the rider still stays the same. The bike is moving underneath, whereas the rider is moving with a suspension stem.
Yeah,
which would-
Control comes with contact to the ground, and
Sure.
that's where suspension.
Yeah.
You lose control if there's space, and if your front wheel's bouncing, even though if you're absorbing up top,
Yeah.
you still don't have the control.
Yeah.
That's where suspension comes in. It's still making contact.
It's meant to
on that.
push back down.
Yeah,
the
it's
rebound
always,
back down.
even if
Yeah.
it's coming up, the tire's touching, even though there's not a load, and then the compression. So
Yeah.
that tire's always in contact with the ground.
Yeah. Last one in our innovations, but I do have some that I'd like to ask you guys about new trends, and I'm going to throw some out there, and hopefully you guys might have some yourself. But I need a little sad music for this one, because I'm taking this straight from our friends at the Velominati, the funny bike. We gather here today to pay our respects to one of the most exciting developments the cycling world has ever witnessed, the funny bike. For 70 years, the evolution of the bicycle was marked by incremental change. Improvements to brakes, more gears, better shifting followed one another as the sport grudgingly continued its slow journey upwards towards progress and modernization. By the way, the Velominati, they're fucking beautiful riders. Then, in an instant, disruption. Change. In the years prior to 1984, time trial machines were little more than finely tuned road machines, but suddenly, spurred on by Francesco Moser's success in breaking the hour record aboard a radical machine with double disc wheels and cowhorn handlebars, we entered a decade of innovation. In the blink of an eye, we had broken from the shackles of a traditional thinking and were suddenly free to think about a bicycle without constraint. I'm trying to keep a straight face. Riders appeared in the start house with fairings attached to their saddles. Oh my God, the
You remember
System
that?
U,
Yeah,
Gitans,
yeah. Uh-huh.
and bars mounted below the top tube. Riders towed up to the start line with broomsticks mounted across the drops of their handlebars. Aero bars appeared, and with them, the triangular frame design that had graced our machines for 3/4 of a century disappeared. In the span of 10 short years, time trial positions went from the standard tuck to the Superman. Then, in a crafty maneuver which demonstrates that the UCI's incompetence is not a recent development, new regulations were introduced which effectively killed innovation in bike design. It's perfect that the music stopped then. The UCI regulated the position of the bars, the saddle, the size of the wheels, the design of the frame, even the shape of the tubes are currently highly scrutinized. The UCI even offers exorbitantly expensive frame certification process. Join me now as we examine some examples of the most innovative machines of the sport you will ever see. So, thank you to the Velominati.
Yeah.
I miss those guys, man. I miss those guys. Paul's got one in his basement right now. Did you ever ride a funny bike?
I wanted to. When I worked at the bike shop, we had two funny bikes come in. One was a Batiane.
Yeah.
Bob Mead was his name that bought it.
I know Bob. I raced against Bob. Yeah.
He had it was the same one that Stephen Roach in '87 won in the final time
God,
trial.
that was a cool bike.
Yeah.
Jackson's like, you
Yeah.
guys are so fucking
And then there was a Mayada came in that we were a Mayada dealer, and it was a Team Mayada funny bike with a Mayada disc.
Yeah.
It was, and I took it out for a couple of spins when we had it. Yeah.
I rode the one you are on. I rode it. I never rode it in a race. Never rode it in a race. It was my father's, and he rode it in time trials, but I never did. Would you, Jackson? Especially you. Would you? Those small front wheels, the sloping top tubes, the all those types of. You should see some of the fairings. They're just rolling works of art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no. That's the short answer. I think positioning the rider to where they're on a sloping downhill, in my eyes, is a pretty rough idea.
Yeah.
But they did it for a little while, so it must have kind of worked. But no, I would not ride one.
you got to admit, though, I mean, talk about innovation.
Yeah.
It pushed that envelope. Greg LeMond with the aero bars built by Boone Lennon and Scott at the time changed the sport. Your current bike is a result of those innovations with aerodynamic natures and the tubes like that. So I think we can all agree futuristic. You know, it was gigantic influence upon the sport. But my question is now: did the UCI kill bike innovation? Are we at a position where bike? You know, we're now looking at mechanical improvements. We're not looking at design improvements.
I think 1,000% they killed it.
Yeah.
Because, like, imagine if they weren't in it, if UCI wasn't as in it. Imagine, first of all, how silly we'd look, but also
we'd be all on recumbents by now. Probably.
Yeah. But also, like, think about the bikes we could make. Like, let's say take away the recumbent. Yeah. Like, think about how fast we could really be.
Yeah.
If you really think about it. Like, there are some, like, triathlon bikes out there, and I know we're all thinking triathlon, but, like, some of those bikes are insane that we could see. Like, if we took some of the track bikes, like that Hope Lotus bike, and put it on a road, like, and innovate it to where we can ride it on the road, we'd be so fast.
They're making a road version of that.
Are they really?
Wow.
It didn't do so well.
Yeah.
No.
For as expensive and weird looking, they didn't do so well. Yeah. If UCI, I don't know. To me, little micro changes are fine. I think this is a sport on the racing level is steep in history.
Yeah.
And to like you said, we could be in recumbents. Guys are, I mean, it'd be like. You know, everybody comes up with a new machine or whatever, totally enclosed in recumbents, and you know, and that's a different thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it's a blessing and a curse.
The UCI, it is, and I think they go overboard in so many things. You know, and I don't know how much the industry has their finger on what the UCI wants. I mean, they push the UCI or tell them don't go this direction because we're going this way. Please don't make bikes lighter because. We already have aero disc brake bikes. All it takes is, you know, so, so I think it's kind of a blessing and a curse.
Okay. New trends. You know, we spoke at length about obviously about disc brakes, about the fact that yes, it's an incredible innovation, but some changes need to be made, some advancements, and it sounds like it's coming down the pike that we maybe have some distance between the pads and the disc. The disc material itself is not going to be so apt to warping, and I still don't get the whole skewer mechanism, tightening mechanism idea. I understand it, but oh shit. So I tried to think of some other trends that are happening in the sport, and I don't know if you guys have any on the top of your heads, but I'll throw some out there right now, and you guys can tell me if you think fad, flop, or fantastic. First one is all over my social media these days with Chris Froome using the quad lock, the phone bike mount for his stem. I saw him actually in a commercial on my social media today where he had his computer on his regular computer on his bike, and then on his stem he had the quad lock, which made me think, wow, Chris, I hope they're paying you a shit ton of money. Phone bike mounts, fad, flop, or fantastic. Do we need our phones on our bikes?
No,
I
don't.
I think they are fantastic for commuters.
Yeah.
I think
so.
Yeah, I think a computer for a commuter is impractical. Because I think you get a lot better navigation through a phone rather than through a computer.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of times you don't know where you, or not a lot of times, but a good amount of the time you don't know where you're going when you're commuting.
Yeah.
And so that can change the game. But I would never have one on my BNC,
bike,
for instance.
Yeah, I'm going to agree.
Yeah.
What the hell is that noise?
That's a plane, yeah.
Oh, I thought my wife was vacuuming upstairs. Somebody go check her pulse.
Yeah.
This is not right. I think it's a fad, but I especially because my Wahoo Bolt, I can get texts, I can get some GPS. I mean, pretty good GPS, things like that. But I agree with you. If I want that detailed of how to get to, 57th and 12th apartment X4 or whatever it might be, a phone's gonna obviously out. And the phone innovation is moving along much faster than computer innovation. E-racing. Fad, flop, or fantastic? Remember CompuTrainer, Paul? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah,
that was the Is e-racing here to stay? Is it something that will slowly fade into oblivion? Especially if you live in China. Kids can't play video games anymore in China. It's being outlawed because of the addiction element is so bad. But I know what both of you are going to say, but I just want to hear you guys say it. Paul, fad, flop, or fantastic?
Fab. It's not a fad. It'll be around.
Yeah.
It's not fantastic, but I think it is for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Jackson?
I think it adds another discipline to our sport.
So you think that's going to continue? We're going to have a continued e-racing series?
Yeah. I think that it is. I mean, we have. This might be going a little far, but I think there's mountain, there's gravel, there's road, and part of me thinks that there's also e-racing.
Wow.
Because I think it's so big to a point where I think we can call it a discipline. The fact that there's a world championships for it, to me, qualifies that it is a discipline at this point. Wow. Do I like it? I mean, there's no comparison to being in the real world for me, but I think it's a great substitute during times when you either don't have the time or the weather's not cooperative.
Yeah.
And that's my limit, but I think it's fantastic.
I think it's fantastic, too. I plan on doing a full winter of racing to try and stay on top of things this year. I plan on doing quite a bit of it just because it's not the real thing. It's not like going out and hammering on the road or on the trails or on the dirt or in the gravel. But you know what? It's the closest I've found to keep me enthused to stay on a bike. I hope it never replaces. But it won't.
But I don't think it's intended to either.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either.
That's not its goal.
Yeah. The Peloton bike, fad, flop, or fantastic? Peloton workout bikes.
Oh, I see it. To me, Peloton is more of a spinning tool rather than it is a cycling tool. Cycling's such an interesting term because it's like technically cycle. The word cycle is just going round and around in one instance. So cycling to me is it's difficult because it's like road cycling is a different thing altogether, because I think a lot of people would say that spinning is cycling. So it's a weird wordage. Weird wordage. But I think it is a different tool altogether outside of the sport. To me, it's like it's for people that want to be able to work out in their homes and not have to get kitted up. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think it's fantastic for people who are not cycling, like the sport of cycling, related at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a fitness thing for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's good because they have yoga, they have other things too that are tied into it. So
that being said, I'm going to say I think it's a complete fad. I think in 10 years, Peloton bikes will either be hanging in the corner holding clothes, or the company will be in a completely different realm. They're already creating rowing machines.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be like these constant fads that people get tired of it and then they stop doing it and then the company shifts.
But all exercise has done that. I mean,
it
was like jazzercise, people
Nordic track.
Yeah. People
Zumba.
Zumba. Yeah. I think it's a fad. I don't think it's going to last. What else do I have? Oh, the Sea Sucker bike racks. Have you seen those? It's a suction cup bike rack that fits on your car's roof. I don't know why this popped into my head when it comes with this in terms of innovation, in terms of design, but a suction cup bike rack for your roof.
I would never trust my bike with suction cups.
So that's my problem too.
Yeah.
You know what scares me? It's not the suction cup holding my bike. It's the suction cup fucking up the paint of my car.
I'm the other way around.
Really?
Yeah, I don't want to lose my bike. There's no more rim brakes out there.
No! Yeah. Oh shit! I've heard testimonials that say they're great. Phil Drummond uses them. So yeah.
I would personally say that it's fantastic because I've never tried it, so I can't have an opinion on that type of area.
Yeah,
so
neither do I.
Yeah. But for people, once again, I'm going to go back to like expense, getting like a full roof rack, or let's say you don't have a car that has one of those roof racks.
Yeah.
Like let's say you're one of those people who has a sports car and you can't have a rack. I think that's a great idea to be able to put that on there.
I'll leave it for somebody else to do the R&D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I will say those the trailer mount ones. I have a quad is it Kuat one that I
It
bought.
just folds down.
Yeah,
Those
off
are
the trailer hitch.
insane.
Don't have to take the front wheel
Yeah.
off. You just zip it right in, and you're off
You
to
don't
the
have to
races.
strain over the top, and it slips out of your hands and scratches the roof. of
It
your
has
car. Yeah.
it has a cable lock that comes out of the tray that you can lock the bike onto the rack, which locks to the car. Fucking game
The
changer.
amount
Yeah.
that I want one is
Unbelievable.
insane.
Yeah, it's after I bought one of those for the RV, and now I put it on my wife's car all the time because she has an SUV, and I'm like, holy shit. The years now
Yeah.
they have not yet figured out something for tandem riders to put a bike on a car in any way, shape,
It's
or
too
form.
wide.
It's
Yeah.
it's a fucking nightmare. No matter what you try to put it on a roof, and they have racks where you hook the fork in, and it swings up onto the top of the car. But you've still got a husband and a wife swearing at each other because somebody's not grabbing the right part at the right time. It's a nightmare. It's absolutely, they have not figured it out, and you can't put it on the back of a car because, like you said, it's too wide.
Lanes are not that wide.
No,
anymore.
yeah, you clip the bike. So, do you guys have any other trends or anything like that popped into your mind while we were talking here, of something like that? And if you don't, no big deal.
I just go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
I think that there are some diets out there that are pretty intense.
Yeah.
That I like. For me, like, I know that intermittent fasting like works for a lot of people. For me, that just seems like that's eye-opening to me. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy stuff. But also,
That's a fad, would you say?
I would say it is. I don't know if I'd be able to categorize it because a lot of people like swear by that type of stuff.
But diets tend to be fairly fad-based.
Yeah.
People are going to follow them, and then they're going to get tired, and then they're going to find something new.
Yeah, and I think that diets are meant to work that way almost, to where they're
Sure.
like you can go on them and then they'll eventually end because you don't need them anymore.
Yeah.
But the one thing that came to my mind, so I wear a POC currently, but I don't know if people remember this helmet. It had one opening,
Yeah,
and it
the
was
POC.
right at the forehead.
That's a arrow. Yeah.
And that was really ugly. That was the equivalent of what a skateboard helmet would look like on a bike. And
The Giro made that one too with the lens that it's
Yeah.
magnetized on the front of it.
those are still around too.
Yeah.
But I think those were very fad-ish. That was where
Arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was where Pac was like, let's get weird. 'Cause-
I heard somebody make a point where you're starting to see in the peloton, like the Pogacar tuft of hair. You always had a tuft of hair sticking out.
Yeah.
You can't have that with Arrow helmets, but realistically, you're starting to see less and less Arrow helmets in the peloton. The only time you do see them now is in the Spring Classics when they don't need that, but in
That
all that, airflow.
heat,
So
you need that
yeah.
airflow. Yeah.
And I will say, the POC that I currently have is technically the Aero version.
Yeah.
But the amount of vents at the front, I never feel like I'm wearing an Aero helmet. And so it's like, I feel like POC is the one brand, at least in my eyes, that has really like done it to a point where you still get that Aero advantage, but you also get the ventilation. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Did you see the helmet Ashton Lambie wore in his?
Yeah,
in
that's
his 4
that's
minute?
a POC.
That is
Yeah.
a POC. And I've heard those are like one of the fastest
Yeah.
you can wear.
It's absolutely horrific to look
Yeah.
at, though.
You look like a Martian.
I mean, hey, it works.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
fucking works. But apparently, you just say, okay, I'm going to look like a dipshit for 3 minutes and 59 seconds. I mean, Ashton fucking
He did it.
crushed it. And that helmet had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to admit. But I hate Aero helmets.
Yeah,
I
not a
think
fan
they
of
look
them.
terrible.
I'd say there's one thing when you're talking about, I think when something makes it big, there's a lot of people try and copy it,
Sure.
their version. Then the big thing was, I think the biggest innovation in road cycling ever was clipless pedals.
Yeah.
And that's something that people jumped on. And the aero lights, cycle bindings.
Cycle bindings!
Yeah, there was tons
Oh,
of them.
God, yeah.
So even time's kind of like disappearing a little
yeah.
bit. So
Time made a good pedal.
yeah, they did.
I
It was
like that.
heavy and clunky,
Yeah.
but yeah, you just see everybody coming up with their version of
Yeah.
what this clipless thing is, and that's usually when you know that's an innovation that's going to stick.
Yeah.
Aero bars too, the clip-on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the configurations they used to come up with
Oh, yeah.
aero bars is like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have like 10 positions. Aero, there's one. You
Yeah.
need to be here. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
need here or here or yeah.
you think about clipless pedals now. It's Shimano, or it's Speedplay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of it. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody just has a play off of those designs.
Who's it that bought Time? Was it SRAM? Somebody bought Time.
Did they?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's
Oh,
they've got
yeah,
that
you're
waiting in
right.
the wings then.
Yeah.
So there's something waiting in the wings.
I think we're seeing crank based. That's a
Power
trend
meter.
that we're going to see. Yeah, we're going to see more pedal based. Although Shimano's new one comes
Yeah.
power, their new Durace comes with power cranks.
Power cranks, not pedals.
Pedals,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
It's ready. You don't have to
Yeah.
install it.
Wow.
I'm really interested to see what show sponsor Wahoo has to offer when it comes to their Speedplay, because it's coming. But I really appreciate that they're taking their time.
Yeah.
They're not going to
Yeah.
make them too heavy. They're going to make them accurate. If Wahoo does anything, they'll do that right.
Mhm.
And affordable.
Yeah.
Affordable power is such a big thing, because
Yeah.
now you're just looking. I mean, I remember the SRM power meters where people have those on their bikes, and hey, it's only $2,000 or something.
And you have to
Those are
send them in
crazy.
every year to get them
Yeah.
recalibrated. Too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'd love that information, but I don't. Shit, do I need it?
Well, it was, sorry not to get too far in the weeds here, but
That's fine. No.
last week was actually a really interesting
geeked out this
scenario.
show. It's been fun.
I know, yeah, I love this. But last week was actually a really interesting scenario on our Thursday night Spirited Ride. So I had forgotten my Wahoo that day,
Yeah.
and I did it off my Apple Watch, and it was really interesting because I wasn't able to see what my heart rate was that whole time, and I really appreciate those metrics during training time.
Yeah.
But during a race situation, I don't need to see that
No.
because
Nope.
I
Yeah.
looked down and it was like there's nothing there. But the week
Yeah.
before, I remember seeing my heart rate and going, "Oh my God, you're going into the red."
Yeah.
And I got dropped that first week, and last week I stayed with the front group. So it's like, I wonder if I'll just zoom into miles per hour and mileage
Yeah.
and just call it from there.
a lot of people do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
A lot of guys.
took hard off my screen a long time ago.
Mhm.
Actually, I was not a long time ago, 2 years ago, because I would be on a training ride with you guys. And I'd be going, wait, what? This is too high. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Now I'm like, fuck, something's wrong. I'll just die.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly. You just keel over. Yep, I was right. Something's wrong.
Something
Yeah.
was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it'll be an interesting path to see how the sport continues to grow. We all have to admit that it is financially driven. And those are going to keep pushing. When you've got people with disposable income in a sport like cycling who are willing to throw that disposable income at the sport, obviously innovation is going to continue to change, and they're going to want us to do that, and they're going to push that into the Pro Peloton, because we look at Pro Peloton riders and we want to be like Mike, and we want to ride the same stuff. So we're going to go out and we're going to buy it. So these guys have no choice. They're going to ride disc brake bikes. Hopefully they'll just get the technology to catch up to it soon enough, right? Yeah. So there we go. That brings us to the end of another episode of the Packfiller podcast. Jackson and Paul, we got a spirited ride tomorrow night, and Director Sportif Paul's going to have to throw some sort of a race plan.
Well, I don't know.
Hey, it worked last week, man. You're stuck with the job now, man. Yeah, you're stuck with the job. Can you find a way to get me over the top of the climb fast enough?
Both of us are in trouble.
Fuck.
Well, we thought of something before.
Yeah. Do we want? I don't want to expose.
We got to keep it close to our chest.
Yeah.
Hold the cards close. If it works, we'll say it. We'll bring it up next week.
There we go.
Although there's no pizza and beer afterwards, so I don't know if I'm
they're
going to have the
putting
energy
new
to do
floors.
it. Yeah, dang.
Floors
Our
and
favorite
happens.
pizza place.
Mhm.
Hey, thanks you guys. Thanks Paul. Thanks
you.
Jackson.
Yeah,
and
thanks.